So 8:15, again reconvening the special council meeting to address item 6.2, the 1 Surrey Street plans. Does everyone feel like their questions have been answered at this point in time?
Yes, thank you.
Yep. Okay, so we've got an officer recommendation before us, and we've had a foreshadowed motion not articulated, but we've got the general essence of. Did you want to put that in writing so we know what the foreshadowed motion is? Because I believe, are you planning on putting forward the officer recommendation, Councillor?
It really depends on if it's just one foreshadowed motion or if there's further amendments. So I guess
well, I'm just moving the foreshadowed motion that we talked about.
Okay.
So have we got some wording specifically around that for the minute taker?
I think Simon and I workshopped something and he's furiously writing it.
Trying to write out something.
Yes.
So if you'd like to give me 1 minute.
Yep.
Can I ask the Mayor a question?
Yes.
Earlier today I spoke to you about a motion that was passed in April, and in that motion it states that the scope of works be provided to the Mayor for perusal and comment prior to going out to tender.
And that was scope of works in general, it wasn't for a specific project, is that correct?
No, it was scope of work in general for projects. So given that this is a valid motion that's been passed by all the council unanimously, can I ask if the scope of works for this project will go to you prior to going out to tender for comment and what have you?
Well, given that that is a resolution of council, then that should happen in due process.
Right, okay.
So, Councillor Gangel?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Just with the proposed amended changes, what is the additional cost to council to make the proposed additional changes?
I'm not exactly sure. I would anticipate if council resolved in this direction, that the plans would that we wouldn't probably amend another concept plan. We'd just go straight to the detailed design to make those changes.
Thank you.
And I know that you're going to take some amendments from Sarah, but can I also propose a couple of small ones?
Yes, of course, you can put them forward. Yeah. So we're just waiting for Mr. Stuart Dawkins to get the wording on the foreshadowed motion.
Is it just process-wise? Is it amendment to the foreshadowed motion, or will it be separate?
So it depends. If somebody moves the foreshadowed motion, which it sounds like is going to be the case, then that's moved and seconded. And then if someone proposes an amendment to that, it needs to be agreed by the mover and the seconder. Otherwise, it will be lost and become another foreshadowed motion. Does that make sense?
So can I just get some clarity around whether it has to be foreshadowed or
Yeah,
if
it
it's
does.
an amendment?
Simply, if the officer's recommendation is put and there's not a mover and a seconder and it's lost, then you can have a motion that's been foreshadowed which will take its place.
You do not have to wait. You do not have to move the officer recommendation.
If you simply, if someone moves the officer recommendation and gets a mover and a seconder, and then someone wishes to amend it, and the amendment is not significantly different, then that amendment can be dealt with first and then become part of the officer's recommendation. They're the rules.
Okay. Thank you, Simon.
So through the chair, look, it's very rough, so you might like to play with it. But,
Yep.
request SIA architects to reconfigure the kitchen space by moving the wall, by providing a wall. Sorry, I've written doesn't actually make sense now. By providing a wall between the.
So you're talking about the wall between the waiting room and the community kitchen?
Yes, I am.
So maybe closing?
Enclosing, yes, that's it. Sorry. By enclosing the wall from the kitchen to the clinic waiting room to accommodate, and accommodating a sliding door into the community meeting space. That would be A. So A would be by.
Can I suggest that we just do dot points?
Yeah.
So it might be A is that we close that wall.
Well,
B
the first
might be.
the first bit by is request SIA architects to reconfigure the kitchen by providing a wall between the clinic and the kitchen to accommodate, and then A a sliding door into the kitchen, into the community meeting space. B, an openable door into the walkway between the residence and the kitchen. And C, move the double glass doors from the south side of the walkway to the north side of the walkway.
Okay. So we also need to move the
So,
thermal
Your
curtain.
Worship, can I suggest perhaps an easier way of going about it would be something along the lines that Council authorises the Director of Corporate Services and the Mayor to enter into discussions with SIA Architects to make minor alterations to the revised plans to the kitchen area.
Being too prescriptive.
I guess he's just trying to capture the specifics that Council's requesting.
Well, we could say to the kitchen area as discussed by Council. I mean, it's yourself and the Director of Corporate Services that have an understanding, and we've gone through it. So.
Councillor Quinton, this is your foreshadowed
I'm
motion.
happy with that.
Okay.
It would probably be the Director of Operations.
Okay, so
All
right, so
sorry, that's what I
let's-
meant. Operational services, whatever you're the director for.
okay, let's just put a pause on things. Amy, how are you going over there?
I can read out again if you like.
I haven't even caught up with Simon.
So I think we don't need Simons at this point. I think Sarah or Councillor Quinton is planning on moving the suggestion that Councillor Ganjul just articulated. Is that correct, Councillor Quinton?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, in place of.
In place of
Is
what
that in
Mr
writing,
Stewart
John?
Dawkins.
Yeah, well, I've scribbled it. I can read it out again. She won't be able to just open my script. Yes,
So
okay.
Council authorises the Director of Operational Services and the Mayor
Mayor to enter into discussions with SIA Architects for alterations to be made to the kitchen area as discussed with Council.
Can I just ask a question, Mr Stewart Dawkins? So that resolution would only allow us to enter into discussions. It doesn't reflect the rest of the officer recommendation, which was then to go on to detailed designs based upon
Oh, well,
those
you can put that
changes.
after that.
Yep.
Yep.
So you're just replacing point 1 of the officer recommendation and continuing with the rest of it as it's...
Point 3, yep.
Yep. Councillor Quinton, this is your
So that's
motion.
Yes, yes, fine.
Okay.
Can I ask a question, Matt?
Hold on a sec. Amy,
So
are
who
you...
is moving that?
So no one has moved it
Quinton.
just yet. She's intending to. We haven't got a seconder yet. But Councillor Hamilton, you had a question?
Obviously Councillor Quinton will move this, and after that, can I propose a minor amendment with Councillor Quinton's permission?
Yes, Kath.
Okay, so
What is the amendment?
hold on a sec. Councillor Quinton has moved the amended motion. Do we have a seconder?
No, I've moved it.
Did you?
That's my word. I'm claiming copyright. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Then I second it.
Thank you. Okay, so we've got moved Councillor Ganjul, second Councillor Quinton. Now, Councillor Hamilton, you have a proposal for Councillor Ganjul, I believe.
At the same time, could I ask that SIA Architects review the location of the bin to locate against the eastern fence line outside the footprint of the community clinic area at the rear to allow universal access, for lack of a better word, because I don't know.
So does the mover of the motion accept the amendment?
Can you read that again? Sorry,
Okay.
Mr.
Okay. Request SIA to review the location of the bin area, the existing bin area, to relocate to the eastern fence line in a position outside the footprint of the community clinic area to allow access for all parties.
You okay, Amy?
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
Councillor Ganjul.
Yeah. Would you perhaps the word consider in there, to consider?
Comes back to the
I'm-
mayor.
John's call.
I'm
I
of.
will argue against
I'm of.
Hold on, everyone. It's Councillor
Yeah,
Ganjul's
sorry.
turn to
So
speak, please.
I'm of the thinking that, again, I would be more than happy with the current officer recommendation, but I think we need I can't see that making a difference to the overall concept.
So is that a yes or a no?
No.
A no. Okay, so that amendment is not supported at this point. Councillor Hamilton may wish to move it as a foreshadowed motion if this motion is lost. But we've got a mover and a seconder for this proposal. Is there anybody against the proposal? Okay, all those in favour? So it's Councillor McLennan, Wilson.
Are we just, sorry, I need to clarify. Are we just moving the amendment?
So we're moving
the amendment plus the officer's recommendation?
No, so it was an amendment to the officer recommendation, which is what was moved by Councillor Ganjo and seconded by Councillor Quinton. So if this passes, it's the resolution. So it is point 1, which is for myself to and the Director of Corporate Services to operational services to engage with SIA architects to reflect the changes we've discussed tonight, and then point 2 and 3 as written in the officer recommendation. Okay. So with your amendment not being included in that motion. So let's put that to the vote again. So all those in favour of the officer recommendation with the
do you want to debate?
Yes, I'm against it.
We want to debate.
Okay, so you now are against it.
Yes.
Do you want to debate?
Yes.
Against?
No, we're debating now, Amy. We haven't put it to the vote yet. Very exciting.
Okay.
So now we've had someone say they're against. So Councillor Ganjo, would you mind opening debate?
Thank you, Your Worship. Not very often I get... how long do I get?
You get 3 minutes.
3 minutes. We've gone away from the 5 that I implemented. That's all right. Yeah, look, happy to support this. Very satisfied that we seem to be getting to a resolution, to an end stage, to a stage where we're going out to tender, heaven forbid, and we're going to construct. I congratulate Councillor Quinton on her endeavours to have this included. I initially thought it wouldn't be possible, but it's proven to be possible. So resilience actually does pay off. I think what we've got here now, and the councillors did have that workshop. Unfortunately, I couldn't attend on that day. There was agreement at that workshop that was made. These are the plans that come back to reflect the agreement at the workshop by council. Now there have been some modifications made to go out and look at some adjustments to the kitchen area, which is my understanding council largely as a whole is supportive of, and I think we just need to look at getting on with the project now, getting it signed off, getting it out to tender, and getting it constructed, because as I've always said, once this is done, once this is completed, it will be a fantastic community asset that we'll have in our town. Thank you.
Councillor Ganjo, you only used half your 3 minutes,
Oh.
so the 5 minutes was not required. Councillor Quinton.
I'm glad this meeting's being recorded, because this will be probably the first and last time that Councillor Ganjo will congratulate me for anything that I've done. But thank you for your kind words. This is a community space, and we do have to think about this in terms of our family and our children. And one day this will be a space where we will host kids' parties cheaply for our community, and it will be a space where finally the women, particularly in our community, will get the space they deserve, because the current child health centre that we have had for 60 years this year has not been serving the needs of the women, particularly in our community, after giving birth to their children. It is too small. This is now a space that will celebrate those women. It will give them comfort. It will allow them to have the space to speak to professionals about the health and well-being of themselves and their babies, that will be open to them for many hours a day, where the current building is locked all day long. This will be a secure space for them to feel welcomed and loved. I'm so I don't know what the word is. I'm so happy we're finally at this point. I want to pick up on a comment from one of our community members and thank him for taking the time to be interested in this project. But we cannot upgrade the current building without moving the Infant Health Centre to another space. it does require specifics for our community and for our mums. So I'm really glad this is finally going ahead, and we do need a kitchen that comes out into the meeting space so it has a more of a flow effect and is more usable for our community. So after this, I hope we're all going to have a big group hug and get on with our lives.
Thank you. Councillor Hamilton.
Firstly, I'd like to commend my fellow councillors, especially those who've endured years of reading reports about One Surrey Street.
And Mr. Stuart Dawkins.
Yes. To be clear, I have in principle support for the restoration of the historical buildings and the establishment of a new infant health clinic. So I don't disagree on those points. Yet I cannot support this motion. I harbour strong reservations about the process around projects. The absence of business case, non-existent asset renewal processes, unrestrained extravagance during the planning process that often results in excessively costly projects that often fail to deliver what will serve this council well. All of these concern me, and this project has particularly concerned me. Here is a 4-page document that I sent to staff and councillors in January, listing areas where I thought we could make savings on this project. So we're going to go ahead with this, and in amongst all this, we're going to get thermal detectors designed and installed to minimise the detrimental effects of air turbulence, moisture, dust, insects and other foreign material. We're going to get network video recorder with backup retention for all footage for 31 days for each camera. There's CCTV already in this building, more CCTV than we've got down Old Perth Road. We have 3 people over a period of 14 days have to have instruction after the handover on how to actually learn to deal with the security system. Phenomenal. So I have concerns about the cost of this project. I have concerns that we are so frustrated with it that, you know, there are some things in those plans that I don't agree with, obviously. In the end, we're here today because it's an A-grade heritage property and it's desperately in need of restoration. I think that some of the things that have been put into these plans actually diminish the heritage properties. However, in the end, there has to be compromise. I agree there has to be compromise, but I don't feel that these architectural drawings reflect the best that we could achieve. And on that end, I'm opposing this motion.
Thank you. Councillor Mikichuk.
Yeah, I'd like to speak for the motion as it currently stands. So yeah, firstly I'd like to acknowledge all councillors' contribution because it has been a long and drawn out process. It's for a very worthy cause. I think in the whole scheme of things we've really very well on the way to achieving a wonderful outcome, not only a family and infant health care centre but also recognising our important history and heritage. And I think from my perspective and the community's perspective, I think we've come to a really good outcome, and it brings me to the role of council of good governance and good strategy and good oversight. And I think there is a point in time at which having things perfect or exceptional, we don't want that to be the element or I guess the reason that things don't proceed. And I see with this project and other projects, you know, we could indefinitely pursue variations for this and all the other things we've done. But for me, it comes down to, does it achieve the outcomes? Is it consistent with our community strategic plan? You know, is it going to meet the vision and the needs of the community? And when I look at those broad objectives, I really feel that it does. And I do want to acknowledge everyone's contribution, particularly Councillor Hamilton's, because you know, we all contribute different things to this team. And one thing that, you know, you do so well, which is not my strength, is that exceptional level of oversight in regards to detail. And we need that. We need that contribution as part of our team. And it is valued. To that end, I just think we've achieved a good outcome, and I think I'd really like to see it put into effect, and I'd really urge councillors to support the motion as it stands.
Thank you. Are there further councillors that would like to speak? Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Worship. Just briefly, the process that we've gone through since I was elected in October last year to come to where we are at the moment has been very educational for me. It's been given me lots of opportunities for insights into how collective decision making can work to produce an outcome that's better than any of the individual ideas that people have. There was an important point about 3 or 4 workshops ago when we were discussing this, that an idea dawned on all of us that none of us had individually thought of before, and we were able to combine our different ideas to come up with, I think, a solution to a lot of problems in our community that belong to all of us collectively. And so I think we have reached a point where this is a good outcome and one that will provide great amenity and benefit to our community. We can always make things slightly better, but I'm a strong believer that we should not make the perfect the enemy of the good, and I am happy to vote for the proposal as it currently is.
Thank you. Anyone else who would like to speak? Councillor Gangel, would you like to close debate?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Your Worship. Look, what I think is important to look at here is when we're talking about savings and financial accountability, you've got to look at the long-term savings. When we were looking at having a standalone facility, that was upwards of thereabouts the $15 to $20 million range. This achieves, albeit on a smaller scale, an opportunity to renew and refresh community assets that are required. It also gives us an opportunity to restore heritage in our town. This is an opportunity to look at our heritage, to value our heritage, and then also mix it in with the future. So mixing heritage with the future is a very, very positive thing to be done. This is a long-term benefit for the town. This will cater for groups far-reaching than just families, just heritage. It will be community facilities that broader community can use, which are desperately required in this town. I was at a meeting just the other week, and I think somebody mentioned trying to use facilities for working groups, which outside of the library meeting rooms, you struggle to get a decent, clean looking facility. They are run down. We are a town largely of a 60s, 70s build. Therefore, obviously, to do this project, to get on with this project, to get it out to tender, will only be a benefit to the town, will only be a long-term financial gain for the town, and certainly will increase. I'm very confident that I can say the surrounding area will have an increase in value with a community asset such as this operating and being fully restored and also incorporating the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gangel. Okay, so we'll put that to the vote. So all those in favour of the motion, it's Councillor Wilson, Gangel, Mikachuk, Quinton, Brown and McLennan, and against is Councillor Hamilton. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Stewart-Dawkins, for the long process in getting to this point, and thank you to everyone for your contributions. And Councillor Hamilton, you especially, as Councillor Mikachuk said, have an exceptional ability to bring things to our attention that may otherwise not be noticed, so we very much appreciate it.
Well, I certainly want to see how the thermal dust monitor works.
Well, I look forward to that too. So we'll close the meeting at 8:38. Thank you, everybody. And
group hug.
I don't think so.